to yell at our audience. At any moment, we're going to blow out their speakers. Get
the word!
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to, I don't know, is it Thursday, Michael D?
Ooh, feels like Tuesday.
So we're doing this. It's a Bid Nerds Thursday, your daily nerd out of the most interesting cars of the day on all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. We've got a bunch of great cars lined up for you guys today. Just wanted to give a shout out to our good friend Bradley Brownell from Flat Sixes. He's also one of the founders of Rad For Sale and Radwood. I know everybody's getting excited thinking he's going to be a third nerd because we always give him the intro. He's not on the show today, but I did want to give him a shout out because he wrote a really fantastic article about Porsche Road Trip, our TV show that just came out on Pluto TV. And I just wanted to give him a heartfelt thank you. He really captured the essence of the show in a way that, I don't know, only a respected journalist like him could. So thank you, Bradley. We really appreciate what you do.
Where will our audience find that article? Is that on Flat Sixes?
Check out Flat Sixes to see his article today. Yeah,
there you go.
It should be the top article on there. It's got my ugly mug on it. You'll just see the thumbnail. And if you haven't watched Porsche Road Trip, well, go do that too. It's on Pluto. You can watch it on demand. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt to find it at the moment. The official premiere is the 28th of this month. That's when it goes broadcast live on the Chassis Network. That's Adam Carolla's network. But you can watch it on demand if you can find it on Pluto. Their search function kind of
go to Pluto, scream at your remote Porsche Road Trip. You'll find it. It's there.
Yeah, that's right. That is the easiest way to find it is if you have one of those remotes that you can talk to, because otherwise their categories thing is all messed up. But anyways, go look for it or just watch it when it's actually on this weekend or next weekend. Hey, all right. Well, let's see here. We've got what we do on the show is we pick the most interesting cars from the hundreds of cars that are up for sale today on all these auction sites. We narrow it down to just the ones that we think are the most interesting, and then not only do we nerd out on these cars and talk about all the features and interesting stories about the cars that we think is interesting, but we also put our money where our mouth is. Sort of. We make predictions as to what we think these cars will actually sell for when they're auctions. And today, all the cars that we talk about are cars that are going to have an auction that ends today. So the thing we always do at the beginning of every show, if you've watched before, is we go over yesterday's predictions. That's right. We prove just how dumb we are and how poor at our own game we are, and we just start with that. We don't know what we're doing. Don't take our advice. Just hit the subscribe, like, and notification button. And also while you're at it, go over to Patreon. We don't have any packages there or anything yet, but you can give us money anyway. I'm pretty sure you can do that. Also, if you want to see this, if you want to experience Bid Nerds every day, but you really don't want to look at us, which who can blame you? We are available now on Spotify and a bunch of the other audio platforms. So there are audio versions of this show available for you to nerd out. And I think every episode going back to January is on there now. So there's hundreds of old, dirty, stale nerds for you to hang out with.
Seat cushion nerds.
Yes, lots of DNA in that fiber.
Oh man!
All right, Michael D. With that, let's go over yesterday. Yesterday was kind of a draw for us, right? We had a pretty even day.
Yeah, it was actually a very even day. JP, we started off by looking at a couple of 993s. The first one we looked at was a 1996 C4S with a manual on P-Car Market. Beautiful car that I think was just here across the bay in Marin County. This was a white car with a light-colored interior, fair to decent miles, and really nice condition. And I'm telling you, manual air-cooled coupes with conventional suspension are off the shelf. They are in back order. You cannot find them anywhere. All the best ones seem to be coming to the auction platforms, and the classifieds have dried up with options for you to compare them to. So when a car like this comes to market, you figure it's in for a ride because it's sort of the only thing out there for the handful of people that might be shopping for something exactly like this. This one looks, by all accounts, to be in very nice condition. I appreciated that it had, like, I think the sport exhaust and the 18-inch wheels. And there was one other thing on there that I thought was pretty cool. But anyway, nice car. I said $111,000. I was surprised that you took the under on this. You went 105,993. Our car had a really nice late flurry. It was on P Car Market. So I don't blame you for betting the platform, but they did well with this one. This car sold for $120,993. So it's almost like you should get half a Yahtzee because you guessed 3 of the digits right.
I got the last 3 right, so that's something, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if it comes out to a tie this week between you and I'll take that half a point.
Yeah, there you go. This anyway, the car sold, and well done to P Car Market for getting, reasonably good money. That's probably all the money for a car like that. We jump over to cars and bids, where Doug DeMiro had a car that looked almost identical. This was a guard red 1996 Porsche C2 Coupe. Now, with the aftermarket front lower valance, the rocker panels, and the rear wing, it looked like an Aero Kit car, but this is not an Aero Kit car because it's not a wide body. So these are aftermarket parts that are clearly designed to look like the factory parts and probably at a more reasonable cost. The big thing here was our car had a few more miles on it, 85,000 miles, but it was straddled or strapped or slowed by a 4-speed automatic transmission. All that glitters is not gold. Man, I'm telling you, you would walk across the streets and look at that car, peer in through the window, see that automatic, and then you'd go, oh, that's what a waste of my time and space. I don't know who does that to a Porsche. Obviously, somebody who doesn't love driving. This made me very sad. I think God killed a kitten the day this came off the assembly line. I said $57,000. JP, again, you took the under at $55,993. Our car sold for a little more than us, but we were definitely in the right ballpark. This car brought a whopping $59,000 on cars and bids. It's interesting result for the platform, and also it's definitely the top of the market for nearly 100,000-mile automatic C2. Like, that is crazy money.
Yeah, I don't get it. Did someone not realize it? Did they just were they so caught up in the coupe Porsche 993 fervor that they're like, oh my gosh, a 993, it's a coupe, hit bid. They're just going nuts on the button. And oh crap, I just bought a Tiptronic. That's going to be waking up next to someone that you did not mean to when you're drinking the night before. Wow.
Yeah, chew your arm off to get out of there.
What is the deal with Tiptronics, Deep? It's so funny because the Tiptronic was introduced with the 964, the previous generation, and they did make the Sportmatic, way back in the 70s for the G-Body 911s. But I maybe it's just I wasn't around when the Sportmatic was a contemporary. I mean, I was alive, but it's not like I was a driver in 1979. So, but were people back then going, oh, it's just as good as a clutch, but you don't need to pay? I don't get the sense that anyone ever said that about a Sportmatic. And even with the Tiptronic and the 964, no one ever really claimed it was as good. But somewhere along the 993, they said people started, oh, Tiptronic's great and it's just as good and it's high tech and.
Growing up in a city, JP, with hills, I think some Volkswagen Beetles also had that same transmission, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And what you had was a shiftable 3-speed with no clutch pedal. So if you were starting your car on a hill in San Francisco, you could keep your left foot on the brake, your right foot on the gas, and start the car in first gear and not roll backwards into the car behind you. That was the big thing here. And Sportmatics were commonplace in San Francisco. I remember people talking about them all the time. And that was, again, the idea that you were shifting gears, but you didn't have to operate the clutch. So for, your mom or some little old lady that wanted a car, they could drive this car and it was a piece of cake. They were not a performance option. They were just an alternative to operating a clutch pedal. The big thing when the Tiptronic came out was that you had buttons on the steering wheel that would allow you to change gears. But that gear change literally took 2.5 seconds. I mean, whatever you thought you were going to do, it already passed you by. When you're going 100 miles an hour, it's like a football field a second. That's, you'd have to anticipate the shift, and you just realize they don't shift that fast. It's just not worth it. And nobody ever used the buttons on Tiptronics. So the Tiptronic, by all accounts, while they might have been a commercial success when they were selling them because everybody was talking about them and it was all ballyhooed, they were a failure as far as a performance alternative, and manuals bring so much more money today. The writing's on the wall. So. Anyway.
And people just continue to buy PDKs. And yes, you can make an argument that a PDK is way better than Tiptronic because it unequivocally is. I mean, it is a fantastic transmission, but it's still not a manual. So don't kid yourself when you buy one of these thinking that, oh yeah, I'll just do with the PDK. It's just as good, or people will like it. Hey, it is great to drive, but when you go to sell that car, you're going to find out just how wrong you are. People want the 3 pedals. That's just all there is to it. Don't make the mistake.
Look at the 991.2 GT3s that are offered with stick, with a 6-speed and a PDK, and the 6-speeds bring a premium. So it's happening again. Listen, the PDK's a better alternative than any other automatic transmission. You can shift the lever. It's kind of like a guy that quit smoking is doing lollipops all the time. You can kind of get your oral fix on there, but anyway, it's still not the same thing. There's something pure. There's something so much more focused about driving a car that has 3 pedals. You are absolutely in tune with the machine. Whereas when you're driving a PDK, and I'll admit this because I have a play seat for my Gran Turismo and Forza, it's just a video game.
yeah, it really is. All right, well, cool. Let's talk about the other Porsche that we talked about yesterday that was not available with a Tiptronic. I mean, this was the last of the greats, right?
It really was. So we're talking about a 1989 911 Coupe. This is a 3.2 Carrera with a G50 gearbox. Our car had 109,000 miles on it. I can't remember where it was located, but it was on P-Car Market. And it's funny, JP. Our car was at like $38,000 when we were looking at it, and you were really worried for this car, and rightfully so. So I said 67,000. You said 68, and again, you were on the wrong side. Our car sold for $60,000. That is a very low reserve for P-Car Market. I mean, guy, what are you doing? I still think that whatever was wrong with this car, you could have got more money for it on a different platform. That's an embarrassing result for a car with that kind of equipment. $10,000 to $15,000 was left on the table for sure. Someone stole that car. Absolutely.
Wow, that's crazy low.
Can you imagine? That's crazy. That number skews the market and wrongly. 3.2 Carreras with G50s and under 120,000 miles. Those are much closer to $100,000 cars than $50,000 cars. And so this one, they got it all.
Our friends at God and Porsche would absolutely put this on the front of their dealership for $109,000. I mean, that would be and they'd probably get somewhere close to that because this car looks really nice, and it is an 89 G50, period. End of story. What more do you need?
Yeah, and it's black.
89 G50, black with tan and black, and it's a good, come on, this is blue chip as you get. And P-Car Market, you guys could only manage to drum up $60,000 for this car? What are you guys doing? I thought you liked the Porsches. All right. Well, let's talk about some other cars because there were a couple interesting cars that actually weren't P cars yesterday. Imagine that. You and I talk about something that's not a Porsche.
A car that did not fail to impress. Jeff Harley from Ferrari of San Francisco submitted this 2005 Acura NSX with 18,000 miles. JP, this car was new Formula Red, which is common. You see that color often. But this car had a black interior with red leather seats and red carpet. And by the numbers, this might be one of 3 for the world that were constructed like this, that were built or ordered in this way. So red on red, 18,000 miles. The last year for the NSX. This is a collector car. It is a blue chip collector. These cars are going in the right direction. And I thought I was bold when I went $140,000. And you took the over at 150, and JP, you got a damn Yahtzee. The car sold on BAT yesterday for $150,000. Well done, my friend. And Jeff Harley, thanks for the submission. Jeff said, listen, he pedals more Ferraris than just about anybody in this country and does a great job doing it. But deep inside his heart, he has a very soft spot for Hondas. He owns an S2000, and everybody loves the NSX. If you're a sports car guy, you cannot not like an NSX. They're such great cars. So anyway, that's a nice one. John Alcantara, your car just went up in value.
If you recall, I immediately went to 150. It was like, what's your bid? You see your number. I'm like, no, 150. I mean, boom. Yeah. It was like, boom. Yeah. I think this car was speaking to me. I should have owned it, but
I did notice that because I could tell you weren't dancing around my bid for once. You said it with conviction.
Usually I'm like, what's Michael Deep say? All right, I'll go over and under. It's pretty easy, but nope.
When you went to 150, the voice inside my head was, you should have bid 147, and I still would have lost it. But
Yeah.
that would have been like all the money in my mind was 147. I was like, just be a little conservative here. It's red on red. That's not for everybody. I'll go 140, and it did. It brought 150. So I imagine the next one that comes to market in any color that's under 18,000 miles is going to bring 160 or more. Like these cars are going up in value. Get yours while you can. Alcantara, you got equity. Go out in the garage and thank your car. It just went up in value.
All right. There was a car. This last car, I think, was kind of going the other way, huh?
Yeah, but we were right there. It's a 1987 Alfa Romeo Milano. This is a platinum version. Platinum's got 15-inch wheels and a leather and suede interior. Otherwise, it's the same 2.5 liter V6. Our car had, I can't remember, JP, 20-something thousand miles, 50,000 something miles. It was low miles for an 80s Milano. If this were a Verde in this condition, it probably would have brought quite a few more dollars. But just being a 2.5 liter, not the 3 liter, I said 13 grand, and I was hopeful with that number. You said $99.99, and our car sold for $10,555. In other words, you were $556 off a second Yahtzee. So I had 3 wins to your 2, but you're the one with the Yahtzee, buddy. That was a pretty even day. There you go.
That's double points for a Yahtzee, which means we had a draw. So that's what we do. We kind of keep track of our scores, and one of these days, when anyone starts watching the show, we'll do a better job at showing the scores and kind of talking about the points that we get over the weekend. But we really want you guys to play along and give us your bids on the cars that we talk about today. We always list the cars in the about section below, so you can always go through the ads and pay more attention to them than we do, because we barely look at them, and we make our bids. But let's see some of your guys' numbers, and also, hey, let's hear the cars that you want us to review. We'd love to talk about the cars that you guys think are the most interesting cars of the day. And with that, getting to the cars of the day, we have one of those. One of our listeners made a suggestion. Which one was that, Mike?
Oh, it's Jay Ronsetti from
buddy.
Porsche. Jay is a dyed-in-the-wool Canadian race car lover. Jay has worked for several race car teams, and as Jay submitted this car, and Jay, forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, I think he said his cousin drove this thing. So since Steve Millen and Johnny O'Connell are the names on the list, are on the side of this particular car, this 1990 Nissan 300ZX IMSA GTO twin turbo, offered out of Concord, North Carolina. I'm guessing he's related to one of those two drivers, or his cousin had driven the car later in this car's history. I didn't get the full story, but Jay's a great guy, probably one of our most fervent and loyal listeners, watchers, followers, whatever you want to say. But by all accounts, this car is amazing. Believe it or not, these cars have, I think it's upwards of close to 1,000 horsepower. These things are absolute beasts, and they dominated in IMSA racing. This particular car has an incredible history. Wrap your brain around this one. In 14 races, this car was on pole 7 times. That's 50% of the time this car was the fastest car on track. It recorded 4 wins, 2 in sprint races and 2 in endurance races, which required driver changes. It had a 93% finishing record, and that is just an incredible resume for a car that only raced over the course of 2 years, 1990 and 1991. And the 2 names on the side of the door are both legends, both not only with Nissan, but in racing in general. So anyway, really neat stuff. This car's sitting at $505,000 on 19 bids, JP, but by all accounts, with the racing history, the provenance, and the collectability of cars from that era, one would have to think that this is worth somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million if you find the right buyer. This car was built with factory support by the race team called Clayton Cunningham Racing, and they ran the Nissan program for a couple of years. While I was at Stratus briefly, we tried to run an 89 car that was almost identical in spec to this and was also built by the same race team. But this car is nicer. Somebody has gone through and repainted and refurbished and touched this car up, whereas the car we had at Stratus looked like it had just come off the racetrack at the final race of a long season. There was a lot of patina and chips and dings and whatever, and it looked very weathered. But this car looks spectacular. I wonder, is your buddy Adam Carolla a player for this car, JP? What do you think? Did you see something like this when you were in his his garage?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's got 3 of them or something like that. I mean, you go into his garage and there's red, white, and blue Datsuns everywhere. And, you know, usually when I say Datsuns, I use that disparagingly against Nissan. Not that I dislike them at all, but I just like calling Nissans Datsuns. But, you know, he has the Nissans and Datsuns that Paul Newman owned in his shop. And you can see our interview with Adam Carolla and some of his cars on Porsche Road Trip. Yes, it's a Porsche show, but we had some Datsuns in there. No, Adam Carolla is really, really, really bullish on race cars. He is basically like, look, these types of things really do well as investments. People are always like, oh my gosh, $500,000 for a car that you can't even use, or $1 million for a car that you know, whoopity doo, it won a couple things. You know, and he's just found himself where he's bought these things, and he's like, yeah, they're the best investments I've ever made. You know, they just keep going up and up and up and up. The people that are into this market are into it in a big, big way. And if you're someone like Adam Carolla, they're not just museum pieces. I mean, he'll take them out and race the darn things. He'll take them out to historics or whatever, Laguna Seca, and he'll drive the living bejesus out of it. So you got to hope that someone like him gets a car like this. I listen to his podcast fairly regularly, and he'll mention cars that are for sale on Bring a Trailer and some of these platforms. Like he talked about that James Dean, how James Dean's rear subaxle is for sale, right? Or transaxle is for sale right now on BAT, or was. And, you know, he was talking about how that thing was cursed, and, you know, his crew.
It was? I've heard that.
Yeah.
All the parts from that car have wound up in fires and landed on people. Like, every part on that car, there's like more than a dozen deaths associated with all the different pieces of that car. It's really a strange story.
Yeah. So, you know, he was talking about it, and his crew was like, well, is this something that you're going to buy? And he's like, oh, no, I don't want anything to do with that thing. So, you know, he hasn't mentioned this car, and I imagine because he doesn't want to draw any more attention to it than already is out there. So maybe after this auction closes, he'll be like, we'll find out that Adam's the one that bought it. Who knows? Where do you think it's going to land for a player like Adam, or someone with big, deep pockets?
So quick shout out to Jay Ronsetti again. Thank you for the submission. On the side of this car, it's Steve Millen and Jeremy Dale. I'm guessing Jeremy Dale is Jay's cousin, because it was, when I was looking at the car at Stratus, it was Steve Millen and Johnny O'Connell. So I think anyway, I think that's the source of this, and that's why Jay submitted it. Anyway, great car. Incredible provenance. This, I cannot tell you, to see a racing car that did 2 seasons and had this kind of success, this has to be the best of the breed. That being said, you just have to wonder if BAT is the correct place to get $1 million for a used race car. I kind of still don't think that it is. I think there's better places for cars with this level of provenance. So I'm going to say $750,000, and I'm also going to assert that it doesn't sell at that price, because I think this car is a $900,000 to $1 million car. So I'm going to go $750,000 for the platform, and that it's a no sale at that price, JP. I think this car is worth a lot more, and it's not going to find it here.
I'm going to bet the over, just because I think BAT is coming up. I think that BAT used to be the place that, or used to be the kind of place where stuff like this didn't happen. You know, we always tell the story of the Kremer over my shoulder that used to be owned by my friend Kai Roberts. You know, that car failed to sell on BAT a couple of years ago. It didn't even break $100,000, and then literally 3 months later in Sotheby's, it almost hit 200. Yeah. So. You know, so BAT used to be a place that was kind of niche and struggled to bring the big money for really, really special cars. But I think that is rapidly changing, and I think this is just the kind of car that's gonna that may prove that. So yeah, I'm gonna bet the over and just say 800. But I really have no idea what it's worth, and I'm only basing my bid on what you say. And so I'm gonna bid the platform more than what I think the car's worth.
And here's the thing, you know, if this car sells, whatever it is, if it's 750 or 800 or 900 or $1 million, if the reserve is there and the consignor gets what he wants and BAT gets the money for it, I feel like places like Bonham's and Gooding and RM Sotheby's, as far as selling historically significant race cars, with the commissions they charge, they're in big trouble. Like,
Yeah.
they're in really big trouble. If BAT, a hobby shop from the Bay Area, is rocking $1 million results for historically significant niche race cars, oh man, the whole market is turned on its head. So I don't know. This will be an interesting lot to see. Jay, thanks again for the submission. Let's jump over to P-Car Market, JP, and look at a Porsche. How's that?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do a Porsche. You
A
got
Porsche.
a Porsche?
Get out your gold chains.
Hey, let's get a Porsche.
John, this car actually is all for you, buddy. Take a look at
man.
this. It is a .2 of the early 944 in '86, but this car only has 32,000 miles and is offered out of Suffolk County, New York. It's got I wrote this down. There's 17-inch Boxster wheels, which is kind of weird. They're the wrong wheel for the car. They're Boxster S2 wheels, and it's got a hideous red leather Momo steering wheel. But outside of that, you have a Guards red black leather sports seat, 32,000 mile 944 standard. That's a great car all by itself, and absolutely worth the investment, because you can go find, some D90s or some Fuchs wheels to put on there, and then just change the steering wheel to a Prototipo, and you've got yourself a car for well under 20 grand, or maybe right around 20 grand, depending on how well P-Car Market can do with this one. Now, as of last night, let me open it up again today. Our car is sitting at just $10,000 on one bid, JP. This is such a weird platform. They have 2.5 hours to go, and the car's in New York, but it looks really clean. And I'm telling you, man, that's a car you'd want to own. Like, decent miles, great condition, and you can swap out those mods. The irony is you could sell those wheels and sell that steering wheel and probably buy the stuff you want and have money left over. So anyway, there you go. There's a car. There's a deal. I think this car is going to bring a lot more money if it gets another bid.
Yeah, I guess the big question is will you get a cavity search if you try to take a Momo Prototipo and adapter through the the TSA checkout,
right?
Because that's what you got to do. If you're going to go get this car, you pretty much got to bring a replacement steering wheel, because there's no way you can drive home. I don't care if you are just across the water in New Jersey, or if you got to drive it, to California, wherever you got to drive it, you cannot spend more than you got to change the steering wheel in the parking lot. You cannot.
Yes, seriously.
Look at that steering wheel. That would make you just gag reflex all the way to wherever you got to be.
Easy to do, though. You just need an Allen wrench.
An Allen wrench and the bolt to what is it, a 19 millimeter or something like that to get the so I mean, that's the deal. Bring the steering wheel and adapter with you. Actually, is that a Momo steering wheel? I mean, as ugly as it is a Momo steering wheel. Yeah, you're right. So all you need, you're right, because it's already got the adapter, so all you need is the Allen wrench. Boom. So just bring the steering wheel. You're gonna have to do something about those wheels, but those you don't have to look at those when you're driving, so you won't gag on that. This car really is beautiful, low miles. We didn't get into the ad super deep, so we don't know if the timing belt and clutch, water pump, that kind of stuff has been done. I'm going to assume that it has, but who knows? If it hasn't, you don't want to drive this thing home. You want to have it trailered and make sure that timing belt has been replaced recently, because you just don't want one of those to go. But that's about the only Achilles heel on these cars. That it's not a terribly expensive thing to do, $1,000 or whatever.
I want to call out P-Car Market just for a minute. So last night when I was looking at it, in one paragraph, I saw that they were 16-inch wheels. So I wrote 16-inch wheels on my description. And as I was reading it to you this morning, in the top paragraph, they refer to them as 17-inch wheels. So who the hell is editing the ads at P-Car Market? If I'm the consignor and I saw this, I would be livid that you guys have gotten the ad wrong. Like, what else did you fail to do correctly if you can't even consistently report on what size the aftermarket wheels are on my car in the ad? So in the first two paragraphs, they literally are referred to as 17-inch Boxster wheels, and in the second paragraph, 16-inch Boxster wheels. And that kind of poor editing is unacceptable if you guys are going to make a splash and be a real player. I know you guys do your due diligence.
They do the due diligence. They got the interns for that. You're right, anyway, Michael.
That's really bad.
That's a good
terrible.
take. Yeah.
That's terrible.
It is the kind of thing that just makes you go, all right, well, everything else they say in the ad, okay, great, you made a mistake, whatever. But now every other fact in the ad is now suspect, and you have no idea if any of it is correct. When you know that one thing is not. These guys aren't lying. They're they're not with it.
This ad has been up for a week and nobody seemed to caught it or fix it. There's no way you caught it and didn't fix it. That means nobody caught it, not even the consignor. I mean, like, what is going on here?
All right, terrible wheel, steering wheel, and a weird ad at best. We're actually decent pictures for a change. Not photo genius, but at least
the right light,
evenly exposed. Everything's good there. You get a lot of good information about this car going through the pictures. Where is this one going to land with those couple of goofy things? Is this an opportunity?
There is. JP, somebody bid $10,000, and I think they went for a knockout punch, and they did pretty well because with 2.5 hours to go, nobody else has bid on this car. I think this car is worth $19,000. I just don't know if it's going to make it here. A 32,000 mile, .2 944, that would be like crazy money. But I don't see that happening here today. I'm not even sure it's going to get another bid, but I'm going to bet the platform and I'm going to go $15,000.
Where is this again? It's in
Suffolk County, New York.
Man, okay, that's a hell of a road trip. I mean, I am the publisher of a television show called Porsche Road Trip, and maybe we buy this thing and drive it home.
I'm in.
I'm going to look at the ad on this one and see if that timing belt's been replaced. I'm sure if it hasn't, just in the time that it would take to arrange travel to get out there to pick it up, I'm sure we could have a timing belt done, and that would be a fun way to go hit the East Coast and do some filming for season 2, right?
Absolutely. It'd be fun just to film us in the airport with a Momo steering wheel on arm.
Wait, look, in the back seat is the Originale steering wheel. There's a little savior. God, they should have just put that thing on. Why in the world did P-Car Market let this guy run this ad with that stupid steering wheel? Not only is the steering wheel bad, what it does is it makes you kind of like the error in the ad. It makes everything about this car suspect because you have to second guess the judgment of anyone who would put that red steering wheel on this car. So you're like, what other dumb things did this guy do with this car?
Oh my God!
And
so
if
funny.
they had just put this correct steering wheel in there, the wheels are not good, but they're livable. Like we can live with those, because they are Porsche wheels, and they're easy to swap, and everybody knows that that's just something that people do. But that steering wheel is just egregious. Your number was what? 15 grand.
15 grand.
Yeah, I'm going 13 and a half.
Wow, that's a deal.
Yeah.
I tell you what, if it sells for that, that's a screaming deal. I don't care what wheels are on it. That's a great deal.
Yeah, I think it is, and but I don't think one of these is a $20,000 car. We've seen some really clean 944s over the last few months. Yeah, we saw that
beautiful S that didn't even bring 20 grand.
Yeah, 944.
And that Alpha GT V6 brought like 38. It was like, what the hell is going on with the world?
Yeah, I just don't think as great as a 940. I don't care how nice your 944 is. Breaking 20, the trunk, the boot is going to have to be full of crack in order to get there. So this will be an interesting test. All right, what else we got?
All right, JP, another Porsche on Doug DeMuro's site. This is a 2008 Porsche Cayenne Turbo. This is basically the .2, right? So in 2008, they upgraded the motor from a 4.5 to a 4.8 liter twin turbo V8, and horsepower went up to 500 and torque went to 516. If I'm not mistaken, JP, that is the specification of your turbo. And this one is awesome. It's got just 56,000 miles, offered out of San Diego, California. And this guy threw the overland, off-road, whatever you want to call it, catalog at it. He's got a light bar on the grill. He's got a light bar above the windshield. He's got a basket on the roof. He's got oversized tires, and I think he jacked up the air suspension. There's a lot to like here. It's basalt black, which is the metallic black. He painted the wheels red and then gave it a little livery with the decals down the side. This is a looker all day long, and we've seen some of these cars bring a pretty high premium. That being said, our car has just about 4 hours to go and is sitting at just $19,000. I'd say that's a fair price or maybe a deal for the car as it were to sit if it were stock with just 56,000 miles. So, where do we think this is going to go, and how much of a premium do we think this guy may or may not achieve with all the money he spent in aftermarket accessories to make this car an off-road vehicle? Other than that, this thing is pretty sweet. It's mostly just cosmetic stuff. There are some 50 millimeter wheel spacers. I'm sure he could push those wheels out since the car is sitting so high above the tire line. So anyway, JP, you know these cars better than I do. Take it away.
Well, does this have an actual lift kit? I am trying to get to the pictures underneath, or because
it has, I think, the factory air suspension system.
yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe he just jacked it up to the high point and that it lowers itself at speed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing that you got to worry about here, because that air ride system is pretty finicky, and there are aftermarket lift kits on it, but I don't know how they would integrate with something like this, and I don't know if you would want to. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't like what this guy's. Obviously we've talked a lot about Cayennes, manuals, off-roady type ones. This one's just a little too weird for me. It's like, with the black and the tan interior, and then he chooses the red exterior stuff. A little red goes a long way, and this guy has gone too far. The red rack, the red, toe
light bar.
Yeah, it's just too much red, and the decals look kind of crooked and not spaced really correctly. The wheels. I love off-road Cayennes, but this one, geez, there's something about the Cayenne Turbo that I just feel like it belongs on road. If you're going to make an off-road one, I know some people have done really well with these turbo, off-road, but I think it's the worst possible version of the Cayenne to take off-road. Turbo, look at that front stripe. It's crooked. The front stripe is freaking crooked. That looks so stupid. It just makes me angry, man. A Cayenne sucking in so much air and everything like that. And when you're off-roading, you're getting dusty. You don't want a ton of torque. You actually want, it's for crawling over obstacles and stuff. I think this is just too goofy. I think this guy is just following the trend and like, oh, look, I can get this thing that has a Porsche logo on it, and this thing that has a Porsche logo on it, and this thing that has a Porsche logo on it. And oh, here's another thing that has a Porsche logo on it. Let's put that on there too. Oh, they're red. Oh, let's do more of that. It's just, come on, dude, settle the heck down. It would have been cool. Yeah, I'm not feeling it, especially with that tan interior. That's just so bad. Does this one have? This one doesn't have PDCC, does it? There's no way.
No.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, low miles though. I mean, this is a great vehicle.
Crazy low miles
in and of itself. Yeah.
I think you'd get more money of it if it didn't have any of that stuff on it. If it was just a stock turbo with 53,000 miles in metallic black with tan interior, I think this car would be in the high $20,000 range. And I think with all the stuff he did on there, I think it's going to be in the mid to low $20,000 range.
Yeah, 21-inch sport wheels, like street wheels, would make this thing just awesome, and it would be such a fun blast to drive. Like you said, I have one, so I know what it's like to drive one of these. They are just so ridiculously fast. Yeah, it's a bummer it doesn't have PDCC, but I guess that's a better way to, this is a better suspension to. Yeah, I don't know how PDCC would react to off-roading. That would be very interesting. So, see how you could break something very, very expensive.
That'd be funny, yeah.
Boy, all right. Well, where do we think this thing's going to land? I don't know.
I don't know, JP.
What a weird pick.
I put $25,000. This car didn't get any love overnight, so I'm kind of dreading my guess, but I'll just stick to it. $25,000. I'll send it to you. It's at 19 now.
Yeah, I think that's high. I think you're right, though. I don't think any of the stuff that this guy did to it is going to do him a hill of beans. He might be able to get over a mountain, but he's not getting over that hill of beans. So there it is. I'm going to say it's at what, 19 now?
Yep.
19.7. I'm going to give it 22. There was another Cayenne Turbo on this platform that brought like 24 or something like that not too long ago. Actually looked identical to mine, but it was a street version. So maybe someone gets excited about all this stuff and has bad taste. You know what would be great in this car is the steering wheel from that 944. That's the kind of sensibilities that this thing has. Just ugly.
It would be the cherry on top.
Yeah. Swing and a miss. All right, let's see here. What else we got?
Doug DeMiro's got a 2005 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. This is a long wheelbase 4x4 hardtop with full doors. It's mostly stock. It has 151,000 miles on it, a 4-speed automatic transmission, and it's offered to us out of Kensington, Connecticut. JP, these things hold their value in a way that I struggle to understand sometimes. To me, a car like this would be all used up, except it's not, because they'll just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And they're great fun. And man, they hold their value really well. Our car has an hour to go, and it's sitting at $9,200 on 12 bids. Oversized tires, that's not worth mentioning. LED headlights, not worth mentioning. A brush guard with off-road lights, hardly worth mentioning. So this car is basically stock, JP. There's no real modifications to how you're driving this vehicle. The color, I don't think helps it. It's this burl green. It's kind of a weird, deep, like Porsche had a color called Amazon green that's similar to this. I don't think that does this any favors. I tend to think that if you're buying a Jeep that's fun, you want a bright color like white or yellow or bright blue or something, or bright red. So I don't know. This one just doesn't do it for me, especially with the automatic. So JP, take it away. It's a no reserve auction, by the way. It's going to sell today.
Yeah, it really is a used car. I mean, I wanted to talk about this one today because I think, obviously I'm a big fan of Wranglers in general, and the TJ generation is one of the best ones they ever made. It's kind of like the last of the greatness. If you get one of these, what you really want is the 6-speed manual version. But, the thing is these are really reliable. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you explain? Doug calls this an LJ, and you refer to it as a TJ.
That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because it's so the two-door, the short version of the Wrangler in this generation is the TJ, and you're absolutely 100% right. Thanks for catching me. This is an LJ. That's meaning it's the unlimited version, but it's the TJ generation essentially.
Stretched.
So yeah, it's a stretched. Yeah. It's a stretched version of the vehicle, and so unlike the unlimited Wrangler that is currently available on the market that has 4 doors, this is just it's still a 2-door, but it has a much longer. You can see when we see a profile shot, you can see how much longer the back end is. It's kind of like the old CJ7 Scrambler. They just stretched out the end. I was trying to go through the pictures there and seeing the pictures underneath. It looks like it's got quite a bit of corrosion that's really indicative of the East Coast and not a big surprise for there, but it does look like it's quite bad. It's not so bad that it's ruined the car yet, but it is an issue. You got to get this vehicle to a dry climate to save it. I was hoping to find some photos of this without a roof because as per usual, these vehicles are, it's like we talked about a Land Cruiser not too long ago, and the guy had the really goofy looking soft top on it, and it just made the thing look so bad. The romanticism of driving one of these is all about driving it without the roof on it. So if you're going to try to sell one of these, especially with a hard top, take the dang top off, put it in the garage. The great thing about these old Wranglers, unlike a Defender or even the Land Cruisers with the hardtops, Land Cruiser with a hardtop from the 70s or whatever, or a Defender 90 or whatever, or any of those types of rigs, to get the hardtops off of those, it's hours and multiple people. They're heavy as hell. There's screws and nuts and bolts everywhere, and you got to bend and move and screw. It's just all kinds of messed up. Take off the seat belts, everything. It's horrible. Whereas on these, it's like 4 bolts in the back, 2 on either side, maybe 3 on the longer ones, and then like 4 screws across the windshield, and like I've literally done it myself. You lift up on the back, slide it off, and then kind of let it slide down on its own weight. It's 2 people can easily do it. My wife and I have done it a bunch of times, pulling the roofs off of these. And then all of a sudden you have something that looks really cool. And with the LJ, because they're longer, they have a longer like roll bar cage in the back, and it has this kind of jungle gym off-roady safari thing going that all of a sudden makes it look really sexy. This thing just looks boring and lame, but you pull that roof off and now you've got this Tomb Raider kind of deal going off. Hell, go full tilt and pull the doors off, and now you're really having a good time. The whole world is an amusement park ride, right? And you've got way more space back there. When you fold the seats up, you actually have room back there to carry some cargo. The regular TJs and all the CJs and Wranglers prior to that, behind the back seat, there's really no room at all. So you can have 4 passengers in this thing and some cargo and go camping and have a great time. This thing, unfortunately, though, is a used car. Rusty. Yeah. It's got scratches all over the place. There's holes in the seats.
Front brush guard is the ugliest one I've ever seen on a Jeep. It is terrible.
Yeah, bad choices all the way around. So with all that said, these are, Haggerty said it was going to be one of the fastest appreciating vehicles this year, and they did not make a ton of these, and they are pretty strong on the used market. This kind of lazy one on a poor platform with scratches and dents, and just looks like one on any used car lot that you could find anywhere else. Where do we think this one's going to land?
$11,000. I don't think it's got much left in it.
Yeah, boy, I think that's probably a good bid. I think that would be a good value. I think that'd be an opportunity for someone to clean it up and take better photos of it and put it on a bigger platform and maybe get a few $1,000s. If this is in your neighborhood and you can pick this thing up for 11 grand, do it. Find someone that can take the right pictures and, like I said, pull the roof off and go nuts. I'm going to say 12. I'm going to go the over because I think they are still pretty strong. But normally, if this were clean with a 6-speed, I'd be like 25.
Wow.
So yeah, it's even with the high miles because the inline 6-cylinder is just bulletproof. The transmission, 3-speed transmission, not so much. You're gonna have to rebuild that pretty soon, but it's not gonna be expensive because it's an American car. All right, a lot of time spent on that dumb used car. Sorry about that, everybody. I am kind of a Wrangler fan. Got a couple. How many more? Just one more car left, right?
One more car, yeah. And I'm kind of an Alfa Romeo fan,
There
JP.
you go.
Let's jump over to Bring a Trailer, and I'll be long-winded for a change. 1985 Alfa Romeo GTV6. It is showing 13,000 miles, but it's true mileage unknown. Looking at the service records of the history of this car, JP, I actually suspect it's 213,000 miles. But whatever family owned this car long-term certainly drove it and took really good care of it. And that's nice to see. Closer inspection will show, little wear marks and grooves and chips and whatever over this car in a way that they kept the glass clean and kept the motor clean, and this car isn't all rusted out or modified or anything, and the miles don't really scare me here. So offered out of Friday Harbor, Washington, is this 2.5 liter V6 with a 5-speed manual. It does have a black Momo steering wheel that looks really good on this car. This particular one has 15-inch wheels. The wheels are affectionately referred to as, I think, champagne glasses, emulating the shape in the grooves and the spokes around the 15-inch wheels. These cars are neat. Their front engine and the transmission is in the back. Also in the back, they have inboard brakes, which is really interesting. Very interesting design standpoint on these cars. We've seen really nice ones here bring more money than Porsche 944s, which is ludicrous. The 944 is arguably a way more reliable car and probably a little bit better handler too. But these cars are great. They have a lot of flair to them. They turn a lot of heads. You'll get a lot of thumbs up. They're really fun to drive, and you just don't see them very often. And I love that about these cars. I've always kind of wanted one and have never had one. So maybe that's what my obsession is. JP, this one's really nice. I would like to have this one myself. With about 2 hours to go and sitting now on 7 bids, our car's at $15,900. And could break 20 grand. I'm not sure if it will, but it could. So what do you think? Black and tan, is that enough to get you going and maybe buy your second Alfa?
Boy, yeah, I've had more than one Alfa.
Have you? Yeah.
How long has this owner had this car?
Man, that's a good question. I didn't read that much.
It's significant because where this car is, let me tell you, Friday Harbor on Orca Island is one of the San Juan Islands in Washington State. This is my home, right? This is where I come from. This is one of the most beautiful places in the world. But let me tell you, Orca Island is not a big place. It's an island. It's a small island. And so that means if it's had a bunch of miles put on it, if it's always been on Orca Island, that means these are like round the island miles. None of these are freeway miles. No, they didn't get on the freeway. This wasn't a car where, okay, we commuted 50 miles every day. There is no commuting from Orca Island to the mainland regularly. If you buy this car, do not ship it. If you buy this car, go get this thing. Go travel all the way up to the Northwest. Take a $80 ferry ride to Orca Island. Do it in the summertime. Go to Friday Harbor. Spend a night there. There's like a million beautiful hotels on the water. I can't imagine a cooler car to be on the island than this thing. I mean, that would just wow. I've always loved these GTVs with how kind of like panoramic, just a huge glass. Does this have the big sunroof too, or is this just a regular sunroof?
No,
okay,
just a regular sunroof.
But yeah, on a summer day in Seattle, on Orca Island, oh my God, this would just be. There's some great roads on the island, and then spend a couple nights in Roach Harbor. That's on the north end of the island. It's kind of like it's like being in the Riviera. It's unbelievable there. I mean, people just like oh my. It is, but you can only do it in the summer. We're talking like July and August. So buy the car, leave it there, go pick it up in late July, and then drive it home. Yeah,
JP,
it's
our owner up there in Friday Harbor has had the car since 2009. By all accounts, this car was sold new in San Francisco and spent all its time in Berkeley and Alameda in the Bay Area
Okay.
So it's probably had 2 or 3 owners, but the owner in Friday Harbor, they've had it since '09. And then let me read you this one too. JP, have you ever heard of, let's see, a company called Group 2 Motorsports of Seattle, Washington?
That's so funny. I was going to mention them. Right? I was just there talking to John and his wife, Melissa. We were there with Kai at Group 2 Motorsports in Woodinville on Monday. Or no, it was Sunday after we did our drive to Winthrop. They are the place to go when it comes to getting your Alphas and stuff like that serviced. So
they worked on this car in 2018. They pulled the motor and partially resealed the engine casing. So they did a timing belt and tensioners and all this stuff at that time. So in 2018, this car got major service, and one would believe that with their reputation that your car is good to go for the next few years. So there you go.
Yeah, great guys up there. If you've seen the movie about the car Over My Shoulder, the interview with Kai was done at Group 2. That's that is definitely bodes well for this car. Man, I want to just buy it and leave it in Seattle. And just every time I go up and visit, just drive that.
Cool.
As unreliable as that Turo GTI was, if I'm going to be risking cars not making it over the pass, I may as well be doing something as sexy as an Alpha like this one. Where is this car going to land, Michael D? What do we?
That is a good guess, JP. I'm gonna say. Let's see. I put $18,000 last night, but I think this car just looks good. It's got good history. It's only a few owners. It's been in, although maybe near the coast, largely dry climate for the most part. It's not like it's in the rain or whatever. I'm going to go a little higher than my bid. So I'm going to wish this car very well. It's on Bring a Trailer. I'm going to say $26,000 because they move it in the right direction. If this car just languishes, it could just stall out at 18 to 20 grand. But if a few people are looking at this car, then I could see it bringing 26,000 bucks. So I'm going to go 26 and go really high on this one.
Yeah, make a vacation out of it, folks. Buy this car. I'm going to go 23. I'm not as strong on it, but as much as I love it, we haven't seen him bring really big money. But either way, freaking fantastic car. Well, there it is, guys. That is a Thursday edition of Bid Nerd, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on all the automotive auction sites. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock, we're doing the show again. We do it Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. We have Chris Clewell, I always mispronounce his name, from Overcrest, is coming on the show tomorrow. So
nice.
We do have a third nerd, and this guy is, we need to load up on the Porsches because this guy, I don't know if there's, he is going to rival us, that's for sure. He knows way more than the two of us put together on Porsches.
Is that tomorrow?
That's tomorrow. This guy has been writing articles about Porsches for a very long time.
We have 3 Porsches tomorrow. We're in good shape.
3 Porsches, very nice. All right, so join us tomorrow for that. Chris Clewell from Overcrest, that's going to be exciting as a third nerd. And Michael Deeb, anything you want to say before we get the flock out of here?
Thanks, Jay Ronsetti.
Good job, Jay. Good pick, man. Keep them coming. All right, guys. We will see you guys Monday.